What is plumber's putty and what are the uses for plumber's putty in the plumbing industry? Plumber's putty is comes in a little tub similar to this, and it, generally speaking, if it has not dried up, it's very malleable, or so one can actually just take their hand, stick in the tub, grab a handful and knead it in your hand, analogous to actually kneading dough. And at this point, roll it into a snake like configuration. Doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be anything. However, be certain that the plumber's putty is very moist. And when I say very moist, I'm not talking about water-esque moist, but I'm talking about when one grabs the putty, it should roll in one's hand very easily. Reasons being said, often when plumber's putty sits in the either the plumber's truck or the homeowner, or sits out in a shed, or sits in a separate building one may have, it will become dry and hardened. At that point, it's no good. May as well be tossed in the wastebasket, but because it needs to be able to roll. Take a handful with your hand, knead it in your hands into a snake-like configuration. And then, next question, what is plumber's putty used for? Very simply, it is used for bathroom sinks, it is used for kitchen sinks, and oftentimes it is used for tubs, drains. And mostly plumber's putty is used on the drain side. For instance, here is a drain. Step 1, get putty. Step 2, knead putty into a snake-like configuration. Step 3, wrap the circumference of the drain around the drain. Then affix your drain and tighten the drain up. Once tightened, one will notice on the usable side of the drain, once being tightened, the more it's tightened, the more the drain is tightened. Plumber's putty will just kind of protrude out from the edges. So then you ask, well, what may I do? Simply take your hand or a paper towel, wipe the excess off. If done with your hand, take the excess, replace it back into the tube for later use. Once in the tube, be certain the cap is affixed tightly. If the cap is not affixed, it will dry out. And it often, if left long enough, it may dry out even with the cap on. So, point one, buy a tube of this, $2 to $6 in that range from the box store or hardware store. Knead it into a snake-like configuration. Wrap your drain, whether it be kitchen sink, whether it be bathroom sink, whether it be the tub sink. Wrap it, tighten it, remove the excess, replace the excess here, affix the top back on. Very simply. And the reason for plumber's putty is to prevent water from seeping out around the drain edge and below your cabinets or whatever you may have below the sink, or worse, onto the floor. So it's used to prevent leakage around the drain.